Good morning, and I'm back. I haven't got 100% voice, but I am here, and we'll see how we get on this morning. Lovely to welcome you in. Let me have a quick slurp of tea. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK. And I've been missing in action for a couple of days because I've not been feeling at my brightest and best. I'm still not quite ready to run a marathon, but hopefully ready to make a card with you this morning. So if you're here, do pop on and say hello. Let us know what you're up to. Do share this video out. It's lovely to see who's round and about and who's listening. Excuse me. So I do apologise if I am a bit coughy and spluttery this morning, but I'm sure we'll get through. So apologies that I wasn't able to come on at the end of last week. As I said, I really wasn't feeling my brightest and my best. So we missed out on doing some of our cards with our bells on ringing set, but I'll perhaps try and sneak some in at a bit of a later date. But for today, we're going to be looking again, we've moved away a little bit from Christmas. We're going to be looking at the harvest hellos. I know that it was harvest festivals in some of the churches here locally yesterday, so it seemed an appropriate time to be looking at this set with its apples and pumpkins. So Harvest Hello bundle, it's a bundle that has a stamp set. That you've got the apple and you've got the pumpkin. You can make your pumpkin Halloweeny with a Halloween face, with a pumpkin face, but equally you can just keep it as a pumpkin, as a squash of some sort, and you can get those in all sorts of colours, can't you? So you can adapt that as you would like. And you've also got the apple, and you've got two different sorts of leaves. And you've got your stalk, and you've got your twirly whirly bit for your pumpkin, and a little row of seeds just there, and some quite nice greetings to an A+ teacher. There's one about giving thanks, you make me smile, hey there pumpkin, feel better soon, and welcome back. So that's the stamp set, and then to go alongside that you get this really nice punch that punches out not just the apple stroke pumpkin shape, but also the stalk and the apple leaf. So a really useful little bundle, and there's quite a few little samples in here. If we flick right to the front of the catalogue, there's a really nice one just here using those apples for an A+ teacher. Flick over the page, there's a pumpkin just there. It's really rather nice. And then on this page just here we have quite a selection. It's that one with all the apples in the background. This 3D box with the apple slices, that's quite cute, isn't it? There's a pumpkin, you make me smile, a little set of teachers. A little set of pencils that you can give to your teacher, and then the card that we're going to have a go at, which is this one just here, this nice sort of granny apples, for which we're going to use granny apple green, unsurprisingly. So that's the card that we're going to have a go at today, is this little set of 3 apples in the front there that are watercoloured. So that's what we're going to have a play with. So you'll find all this bundle on page 49 of the Autumn Winter catalogue. Obviously, if you still don't have a copy of the Autumn Winter catalogue and you're here in the UK, do give me a message and I'd be really happy to send you one. And here in front of me I've got a couple of little cards that I made. These were actually last month's county tour. That one looks as if it's got a bit battered as it's gone around. I have to get my glue eraser out. So 2 very similar, simple little cards. Hi Karen, lovely to have you join me. 2 little cards, very similar basis. One using an apple and one using a pumpkin. So they were some I made. I was having a play yesterday actually with a scrapbook page using the pumpkins, but I'll share that one with you perhaps on Thursday. So let us have a bit of a play. What have I got here? I've got some bits of shimmery white cardstock, because we're going to be watercolouring these particular apples. So let me move that to one side for a minute. And let me punch out some apples. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to punch out the shapes for now, because I'm going to use my Stamparatus. So we want, now I don't want to lose these bits. Let me just grab a little tray to put them in so that they don't go wandering when we come to want them. So there's an apple, a leaf and a stalk. Hopefully another apple, leaf and stalk. And I'm going to go for a third apple and leaf and stalk. So I've just punched 3 lots out of that scrap piece of shimmery white cardstock. So we got more out of that than I thought we might. So let's tuck that rest of that away. So I'm now going to bring in my Stamparatus, which I have already set up. So what I've done is I've taken a scrap bit of card. Sorry, that's going to shine. That light's going to shine on there, but we are really quite grey and wet and rainy this morning, so I've still got my light on. So as you can see, look, we've got a nice little shimmer of light straight in the middle of that Stamparatus. So I've already taken a scrap piece of card and just punched that apple out of the middle of it, just to make my template. So I now have a template that I can use on my Stamparatus, and I've gone ahead and I've taken the stamp for the apple, the outline stamp for the apple, the leaf and the stalk, and I've lined them up in these holes and picked them up on my my stamping platform on my mat. So they hopefully are all set up now to stamp beautifully in those holes. So let's test that theory. This is where, you know, you hope it doesn't all go horribly wrong, isn't it? So let's put one of the apples in there, one of the leaves in there, and if I can pick it up, one of the stalks in there. And I'm going to stamp these in Stays On, because we're going to be watercolouring them. So I'm going to ink these stamps up with my Stays On ink. And hopefully a bit of a push, push, push all round, and we should have, let's find my pickup tool, a stamped apple, a stamped leaf and a stamped little stalk. There we go. Now let's go again. Let's put in an apple and a leaf and a stalk. Ink them up with our Stays On. And we have one apple, one leaf, one stalk, and last but not least, our third apple, our third leaf, and our third little stalk. Ink it up a final time. And apple number 3, leaf number 3, stalk number 3. Excellent. Let's transfer these all over to our little tray so we don't lose them. And I will put that to one side, and we'll clean all that up in a moment and take that apart. So now we have 3 apples. Actually, do you know what? I didn't want to do 3 whole apples. You see, I got excited and carried away. So what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to have a spare apple, because what I need to do is just print. Let's take another apple and pop that in there, because this time I want to take off that whole apple and I want to use the apple slice. So I can still line this up in that gap and pick it up. We can still put our piece of apple in there. Oh, I haven't put the phone on silent, so we're pinging. Let's just do that. There we go. Let's ink up our apple slice. And then let's stamp that. It's kind of slightly wonky, but we can work around that. We can give that a bit of a trim. Okay. Put our lid on our stays on, because we don't want that drying out. I'm going to take my snips, just snip, and I'm going to take a little bit off the top of there where it was a little bit skewy. That was more haste, less speed, wasn't it? There we are. So there we have our apple slice. Okay, so now we want some of our colours, because we're going to do some watercolouring. And I have actually, because the majority of it is in Granny Apple Green, I have got myself a little bit of a paint palette and a green re-inker. So let's just make sure that that's dust free. We'll put a couple of spots of the Granny Apple Green ink in there. And add in some water. And then we've got a nice palette of green ink, which is the main colour that we're obviously going to use for these apples. So our apples are Granny Apple Green. Our apple slice, we want a little bit of Granny Apple Green around the edge, and that's our spare apple. So let's do our apples first. So what I'm going to start off by doing is I'm going to sort of almost go for a slightly sort of ombre effect on this. Let me just grab a piece of kitchen towel. I'm going to put down some water first. So it's going to be slightly green, but that's okay. So I've just added in some water first. And then I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. I want it going from sort of light, darker at the bottom, getting gradually a bit lighter towards the top. Fabulous. So there's one. Let's do this one. Let's add down a layer of water first. Adding down the layer of water just helps your inks to move about on the cardstock. We'll start at the top here and just work our way up. As always with watercolour, you're not necessarily looking for perfection. Leave that one a minute. And let's get our little slice. Obviously with our little slice we're just looking to put a bit of colour around this outside where the skin is still on our slice of apple. Got a little bit of soft suede here. Let's give that a squeeze. Now with these newer ink pads I tend to turn them upside down and squeeze them. We've got all the green out of there. Just squeeze your water brush and let the water run through and clean up the bristles. Let's just add in a little bit of a bit of a pip just there, and what I'm going to do is make a really watery colour there, and perhaps just put down a little bit of soft suede onto that apple slice where it's been cut open. Right, so 1, 2, so now we need a couple of stalks. Let's just pick up a couple of stalks. Come here. Oh, where did you go? And we'll just add in some soft suede. And then we want our leaves. 1, some old olive, 1, 2, where did the other one go? Where did you go, leaf? Oh, there you are. I say, can't have gone far. There we are. And we've got our 3 little leaves. Let's just pick up some of the old olive. And add in a bit of colour. Add in a little bit more where those veins are, just to give a bit of shading. Okay, so let's move those out of the way for a minute. We'll move that out of the way so that hopefully, excuse my washing machine if you can hear that going madly in the background. Okay, so we've got our apples. We might need to give those a bit of a dry in a minute, but we'll give them a chance to dry by themselves while we're doing other things. I've also got a pool party card base just here, and I've just created a side opening pool party card base. So that's a piece of A4 card cut in half at 10.5 centimetres and scored at 14.9. So that's that one. And for this one we're going to take this little row of pips that are on this stamp just here. The washing machine is really taking off, isn't it? Let's see if I can reach just to pull the door to. Just goes to show you, see, it's all live in the hub of a busy home on a Monday morning. Let's just pull that to a little bit, and that will hopefully drown out the sound of the washing machine a little bit. Morning, Div. Right, so I've got some pool party ink here. I've got a pool party card base, and I've got my little row of pips. and I'm just going to bring a row of pips across the middle there, just to add a little bit of interest to that card base. And the other thing we're going to need to do is to do our greeting, and we're going to do that on a piece of Night of Navy card, and we're going to heat emboss it with white embossing powder. Now the original says welcome back, but I thought I would, which would be really good if you were sending that to a teacher at the beginning of term, or if as a teacher you were sending it to all your pupils at the beginning of term. If you've got a colleague that was returning from long-term sick or maternity leave or all sorts of things, somebody had been on a long holiday, but I don't know that I've got anybody that I really need to send a welcome back card to. So I thought I would go for the Feel Better Soon. Now, as with all of these cling stamps, they're very clingy when they first go on, and I've not had to take that one off yet, so it was very clingy. Right, so Feel Better Soon. So let's use our embossing buddy. Put some of that down on that Night of Navy card. Then let us find our Versamark ink, which is here somewhere. Yes, there it is. I've buried it. Oh, no worries, Div. Better late than never, and the lovely thing about Facebook Lives is you can always go back and catch up at a later date, and if you don't want to catch them on my Facebook page, you can find them on my YouTube channel. So that tends to be my job. Once the video is finished, I set it to upload to YouTube whilst I'll get my breakfast. So there we are, Feel Better Soon. We've stamped that with Versamark onto that blue card, sprinkled on our paper, and now we need to heat it. So let's just untangle my heat gun from around my water. There we go. Feel Better Soon. Just want to say thank you as well for all the lovely messages, the get well messages I had last week. I had so many people wishing me to feel better soon. It was really lovely. I felt very loved. Let me have a look. I think I might take a circle punch. Is that circle punch going to be big enough? That circle punch is going to be perfect. So let's punch that out as a circle. So that's going off track a little bit with the original card, but that's okay. We're allowed. We're using it as our starting point. I'm also going to have to go off track a little bit on the ribbon that we use, because I love my white flax ribbon so much that I've run out and I need to replace it. So on this card they've used the white flax ribbon, which is very similar to the the burlap ribbon, only it's white, and I've run out, so I need to put that on my shopping list. So we need to decide what ribbon we're going to use instead. So we could indeed use the burlap ribbon. That would work with our Granny Apple Green apples. Got a variety of things here. I have no, I don't think that one's wide enough. No, I think I prefer the burlap ribbon, but it's good to have a play. That one is a possibility, but as we haven't got any grey in it, we could use, I think the Granny Apple Green version would be too much Granny Apple Green. I have just received a new order of white spotty ribbon, and I think that might not be solid enough. This is the lovely thing, you've got all these different options. No, that's not going to be strong enough. I think we're going to go with the burlap ribbon. So I'm going to need a couple of strips of that to go. Ooh, nearly lost my scissors down the back. I want a couple of strips of this along here. That there. Ooh, geese ahead, flying off somewhere in formation, getting ready to overwinter. So I don't know whether they're getting ready to fly off to overwinter elsewhere or whether they're flying in to overwinter here, because we do get a bit of both. But yeah, they're very definitely set to go somewhere. Right, I think I'm going to snip these ends so that gives it a bit of interest as well. Just shape them a little bit. That way. And then let's take some glue dots. I don't feel as if I know enough about birds that round and about. I'd love to be able to be one of these people that can just hear a bird sing and know what it is. There's a bird that sits outside our window that I often hear very early in the morning. I'm not really quite sure what it is. One of these mornings I'll perhaps have to get myself out of bed, look out the window and see if I can spot it. I always think that's a fabulous skill, just to be able to hear a bird and go, oh, that's a so-and-so. Right, let's lay that second row of burlap ribbon down there, and I've just popped 3 little glue dots along the back just to hold that down. And then we need to construct our apples. So let me just put a little spot of glue on the back there. That doesn't want to come out. There we go. So with the pumpkins, with your stalks, with your pumpkins, on your pumpkins you put it so that the fatter end is at the bottom. With the apples you put it so that the fatter end is at the top. So there's our stalk on our apple, and now we need a little leaf. Let's put another little blob of glue on the back there. We want one of our leaves. Just coming out. There we are. So there's one apple. And then our other apple. So again, fat end at the top on the apples, and then this time we'll have a leaf coming out this way, and we'll have this apple will come eventually here somewhere, and then we've got our little apple slice that we're going to put in the front. So let's stick those in place. So I'm thinking this one we'll just put on with some Tombow, so we'll stick that one relatively flat. Perhaps have them coming up a little bit further, about there. This one I think we'll put some dimensionals on the back of. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think we'll have one on the back of that leaf for good measure. Excuse me, a bit of a slurp of water. Got a busy week this week because on Saturday I've got my all-day craft retreat, and the all-day craft retreat is very much all day. We are there to welcome the lovely ladies at 9:30 in the morning with a drink and pastries and those sorts of things, and we have lunch. We have sort of tea and coffee, and morning Hannah, tea and coffee and things, and a nice homemade biscuit sort of halfway through the morning. Lunch at lunchtime, afternoon cake, and then a meal in the evening with sort of nibbly snacky things going on throughout the day. So lots of food, lots of crafting. So I'm busy. I've got projects that I've made. And I shall take, it's almost like I up sticks my craft room. I take all my card, all my stamps, all my dies, everything that's current, take it with me. So it's like inviting these lovely ladies to come and spend the day with me in my craft room, and they can either choose to do the projects that I've made for the retreat itself, or they can choose to create other samples and things that I will have with me, or they can choose to just make what they like with my supplies, or indeed they can just bring a book, read that if they so require. Anything they fancy, it's their day. That's the plan, to come and enjoy as they want to. So I'm really looking forward to that, but obviously that means there's lots of work to be done this week. So let us stick that little Feel Better Soon on. And obviously pressure is on because I wasn't able to do quite so much last week as I wanted to, although I did keep chipping away at it. Not quite with the vigour that I would like to have done because I was not feeling my brightest and best. Now here I've got the holiday rhinestones. They're beautiful colours, aren't they? Sort of blues and greens and reds and golds and a lovely array of colours. And I think we're going to pick out some of these sort of light blue ones, and we'll just scatter a few of those around as well. Ooh, stuck to my finger rather than the card. So hopefully, if anybody was feeling a bit yucky, a card like this would really brighten their day. So there we are. We have Feel Better Soon. A little apple sparkly card. You've got your pips in the background there. You've got your watercoloured apples, very appropriately painted in granny apple green, with their old olive leaves and their soft suede stalks. You've got your little cut apple there that's just got a touch of soft suede on it, just to give that impression that it's been cut. And as always, you get, as soon as you cut an apple, you get a little bit of discoloration. And then you've got those lovely rhinestones, and we chose to say Feel Better Soon rather than Welcome Back. So there's our card. There's the card that we were casing in the catalogue. So obviously a change of colour of ribbon, change of sentiment, but other than that, not far off. So my voice has held out. Woohoo! Thank you for joining me, and I will hopefully catch up with you all again on Thursday, when I will show you my scrapbook page that I've made with my pumpkins, and we'll make a couple more projects. So I look forward to seeing you all then.